Hi guys, this is Joseph from Joe Concepts. Let me start by apologizing. I'm really sorry for being away for so long. I actually was running two programs and that requires my 100% attention. So that made me stay off YouTube for a while, but I'm done with the program and I'm back. So I'm going to continue from where I left off in the previous series of texturing. So we're going to look at how to create a glass object using Redshift material. So let's just get into what we have for today. So I have a Redshift shader ball that I'm going to be using in this case. I won't be using my Geo Concept shader ball anymore, the one I tweaked. So I'll just click here and create an RS material and plug that RS material into this object here, which is the shader ball. So I'm going to start off by, let me open this up and then start texturing this up and see how to go about it. This is actually really simple. So I'll just go to my Redshift, render view, and then, okay, so I was working on one before. So let me just start a new render. And this is what we're going to have. We're going to have this object here. So what I want to do is to create a glass object, like I said. So for me to create a glass object, the first thing I need to do is to bring my diffuse to black. Either I do that or I can leave this as this and just bring the weight down so that it's more like a matte object. So that is the first thing I want to do. So it gives me similar things. So then once I have that, the next thing I'm going to do is come here and change this to GGX. Then I'm going to look, so the IOR of a glass object, if you check online, it's going to be 1.517 thereabouts. So I'll just put that there. And then I will come to the refraction. This is what will make the glass object come out as we want. So if I come to the refraction, I want to bring the weight color all the way to 1. And as soon as I do that, that will quickly turn this guy to a glass object. So you can start to see what this is giving us. So this is the beginning of what we're going to be doing now. I'm going to bring the background color and try to reduce the opacity a little, or try to reduce this whiteness to more of a darker color. So I'll just click here and go to the ramp and remap that. Instead of me having full white, I'm going to change this to more of a grayish color so that I can see through this image. Okay, I think that might be too much, so let's just bring this up a little bit. All right, so I think I will stop here. Okay, so now we have this object, and then you would ask yourself, is this the glass object we want to create? No, this is not realistic enough for us to create a glass object. And like I always tell people, if you are creating a material, any form of material, you want to also go for realism. And for us to bring that realism into it, we cannot do without surface imperfection. And that is true. We need surface imperfection in everything. Or if you are a material artist and texture artist and you want to be creating texturing or doing all sort of things, you need to always incorporate perfect surface imperfection into your workflow, and that is what will actually stand you out among every other texturing artist out there. So for us to continue with this, I will bring up my texture, and then let's just hold on for a minute. Okay, so if I bring this up, you are going to have some surface imperfection, like I've said in the previous tutorial. Surface imperfections are more of a grayscale values that we are going to be using to drive either roughness, bumps, opacity or alpha, translucency, and all those things. So thereabouts. So we're just going to look at some of the maps that are going to be using here. So I want to add a grunge map to this. So what I'll do is just come up here and look for some grunge map that has a thumbprint. So I'll just scroll. So by the way, I got some of this from MoGraph Plus course that I took. So you should just check the tutorials out. It has a very good tutorials you can learn from. All right, so I will scroll up and see what. Okay, so I think I like this for thumbprint. So I'm just going to drag this over into this place, and then let's say no, because I don't want to save that. So I'll just plug this into the roughness because I want to show that it has been touched over a period of time. So I'll just drag this over into this place and go into my base property reflection roughness. As soon as I do that, you're going to see this break off the reflection, and it's really brushed. You can see now that this looks really brushed off, and this is not what we want. This is too much, so we want to like remap this. So for us to control this, first off, I'm going to come to the texture, go over to my general, and in the gamma override, I'm going to enable and change the gamma value from 1 to 2.2. I like doing this for any of my grayscale maps. All right, so like I was saying, I need to look for a way to control this. I will not be able to control using gamma. Some people would want to control using the gamma or looking for alpha multiplier and changing some of these things, but that's not a good way to control your map. So for me to control this map, I'm going to bring in another node, and it's called a ramp node. I'm sure you by now should know what this ramp node is. So it's more of a gradient node that we can use to remap. So for me to do this, I'll just drag this over into the input section of the RS material. RS ramp, general input and input. So from the output of the RS ramp, drag that into the reflection. But before I start dragging this into the reflection, if I drag this, you're going to see what it's going to give us. But then nothing will change. Yeah, nothing will change. First thing I'm going to do is to change my source to alt. Even after changing that, nothing still will change. The reason is because it's still mapping the black to the map and the white to the white. So we need to look for a way to reduce this brushness. So for us to reduce this glossiness, we need to reduce the white that we have in this map. So the way it works is everywhere you have white, you have it glossy or brushed, and anywhere you have black is shiny and reflective. So you can see from this map here that it's going to give you more of a rough surface, which is what we're having. So for us to change this up, we need to reduce this white. Click on the RS ramp, go to the white node and bring the white down, and you will start to see it being more reflective than it is at the moment. So you can see what is happening now. So this is beginning to come up fine. And then let's still work our way here. So if I come here, I can bring this a little bit up and bring the reflection and reduce the reflection. So let's try 15 and let's try 60, and let's see what we have. All right, so because this is glass object, so it's going to take longer time to render compared to our plastic and all that. So you are beginning to see some things, and it's now clearing off, and you're having all these things here. So another thing I'll also do is if I go to my RS material, I want to introduce a little bit of dispersion into this. When light hits a glass, there is, I remember then in school, glass prism. When light hits glass, there is rays of light are either absorbed or dispersed or reflected. So for us to simulate that, we also are going to add a little bit of dispersion to it so that it disperses a little bit of rays out. And just introducing a little bit, you are going to see this. So you just look for that value that will give you what you're looking for. So I will just change this value up and see what I get to have. So let me just do something here, just render region somewhere here so that it calculates faster. Okay, so I'm seeing some color being dispersed here. So I'll just change this value around and see what I have. So it's 0.06. Let's try 0.1 and see what we have. So it's beginning to disperse light, but not too much. So the thing with this is I do not want too much of the dispersion, just a little bit of it, and I'm fine. Really, I don't want to. When you are working, you want to be subtle with, like I always say, even at 0.5, it's too much in my case. So what I'll do is just bring this down to like 2.5, and let's see what we have. All right, so we're beginning to get a little bit here and there, and I think that's fine in my case. I'll just turn this off, and it should recalculate for everything. Okay. Oh, I changed this. So I said I was going to 0.25. Okay, so that should change some things here. Okay. Okay, so we have a problem, and so the problem here is because we have some maps here. So I'm just going to delete those maps that we already have. I'll let go, let only this thing stay back, and let's see what is happening here. We're having if I bring this to 0, what do we have? Let me see. Oh, sorry, I've seen what the problem is. I want to change the IOR instead of dispersion, so I'll just come back to this. So the IOR for glass is 1.517, like I said. Then I'll move this to 0.25, like I was saying. So this should be back. So it will first bring up this, and then by the time you start calculating, then it goes down. Okay, I think I would have to go back to this value, changing this value, because I was changing this and didn't know. So let's just bring this to 0.025, and let's see. We want to really reduce the dispersion. Okay, so reducing this is even giving us more color. So let's try 5. Let me render somewhere here. Okay, so I'm going to go up all the way to 50, and let's see. Yeah, you're beginning to see that, okay, there's still some dispersion, but the coloring is kind of reducing. So let's try 75 and just push this even more to reduce this and see what it gives us. Once we are fine, we're just going to leave it as is there. Okay, I think I'm fine with this. I think so, but even I feel it's still much. 95, and let's see one more time. Okay, so I will leave it at this. I think this is okay. So you notice start cleaning this out till everything is out. So I will get rid of that and then look at everything together. Then we can now come here and start working on the map. So another thing we're going to do here is to also break this imperfection we still have is to introduce bump, and the bump is just a way for us to bring in scratches and tears to this geometry, and by doing that it's also going to sell the believability of this product and making it look realistic even more than we are currently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for another map that is more of a scratch map. So I'm seeing some lines and scratches here, and I also have one here. So I'm going to bring these two guys and see which we are going to use in the end, and possibly we might mix them. I hope so, but let's just see. So we have the two maps. So the first thing I'm going to do is just for me to continue in this, I'm going to bring up what's it called? I'm going to bring up a bump map and bring the bump map over here. And also, sorry, before this, I'm going to turn off this and just change this texture over into the color. And why I want to do this is to show what this gives us. Okay, so I'll bring this into the color and reduce the refraction. Bring the refraction to 0, and let's see the effect of this map on the color. Okay, so bring the weight up to 1 so that we can see that. So you see the way this is mapped up. All right, you see the thumbprint. This looks too big in my own case, so we can actually reduce this thumbprint. If I want to reduce the thumbprint, what I'm going to do is to bring up another map called the triplanar, and that triplanar will allow me or help me to scale up or down this thing. So I'll bring the triplanar between the smudge and the RS ramp rather. So just go into the image X and put this here. And the good thing with this triplanar is that it's going to bringing this to one channel is going to add to other channel just because of this. So what triplanar does, it takes a map and add it to the X, Y, Z plane of an object and then blend them together, more of brushing their surfaces together. So instead of you having a sharp transition, more like the same, you know, when you have object that has same. So instead of you having this sharp transition showing the same between one axis and another axis, it's cleaning the surface, the edges together, so you don't get to have that same line. So that's what this is doing, but it has had the same map on all of the axes, so we don't need to go about that. So the only thing we need to change is the scale. So the way the scale works is the lower the value, the larger the size of the map. So we want to reduce the size. So that means this even brings up the size of that map. So we need to reduce this. So if I bring this to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and that should bring us to the, you can see what we have. So we need to still reduce this. This is the thumbprint. So if I bring this up to, let's try 2, 2, and 2, and let's see what this gives us. So you can see that we have the thumbprint here and there, and I think this is fine. We can also use this rotation or the offset to change the position. So offset will change the position of the map, rotation will rotate the map around. So if I bring this to like 50 degrees rotation, you're going to see what happens to this map. You can see this wasn't here before and moved up. You can see, so we can do that, but I'll leave it as is. And then once I'm done with this map, I'll just go back to this, get rid of that color, diffuse, and bring this down. So that is what we're going to have on that map. So we'll bring up this refraction back to 1, so you can begin to see the whole stuff. Okay, so we want to do the same thing for the what's it called, for the bump. So I think I will still bring this down to 0, so we can just simulate it on this object as this. Then we just plug everything together. So And so the reason I'm doing this is because of my system, so just bear with me. So I will drag this guy over to the diffuse so we can see how it looks like, just like I did for the roughness. So you see what this gives me, the scratches and all that. You can see this is a scratch and this looks too big, so we can also scale this down by bringing in the RS planar. So I'll go with the same value we have here. So all I just need to do is just plug this in. I don't need to go through this process anymore. And that would have reduced the scale, and you see this. So what I feel I can just do is just look here and change this. So let me just say I'll change this to 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. Just to scale this up a little bit. Okay, so another thing I would also look at is the map. So I have the white and black. So the white will push these guys up and the black will push it down. So we don't want the geometry of this object to be pushed up more. So I'm going to remap that by using an RS node. Okay, so I'll bring this here and over here. So what I want to do is so anywhere you have 50% gray, so what 50% gray is, it means keep the surface as is. If you're going beyond 50%, you're adding geometry to it, and if you're going below 50%, you are cutting off the geometry. So I want to add a little bit of stuff to the geometry. So I'll just go a little bit beyond 50%. So let's just say 55%. So we're going to have just a little bit of whiteness to that. Then this, I also do not want to go 100% black, so I'll just come up to like somewhere here. Okay, so this is one of the map. So let's just look at the other map here. If I drag this other map into this section, this is what we're going to have. So you see that this map, for the other scratch map, this is what we're having. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this and work with this one separately, because we're going to be blending them. So what I want to do now is to reduce this stuff. I feel that the scratch on this guy is small, or is too large. So I'll go to the triplanar and let's try 5, 5, 5. I want to see all the scratches. Okay, so I think this could be too small. So let's try 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5. I really want to see that. Okay, so I'm seeing some things here, so you can see. I think this is fine. 1, 5 is okay. Yeah, I've seen some of the scratches and a little bit of this here and there. And because I have already mapped this, and we are having this. So in the case of this one, I can decide to say I want this to be really pronounced. So I'll bring this all the way down to black. And then maybe this one, we do not really want to do anything on this adding geometry here. So I'll bring this to 50%. So we know that this, nothing is pushing up. We are only going down. All right. So we have this. Let's try and plug this into what's it called, into our bump. So I'm going to just bring this up a little bit and drag this all the way here. Bring this first ramp, this next one. So I'm going to add this into the bump input. Then I'll get it out of this place and put this into the overall, and then bump input. Then we're going to start to see the bump. So you see what the bump is giving us. So you can see this. So this looks really fine, but then I would not want to make this bump here really pronounced because it's a glass object. So glass objects, the scratches on glass objects are not as it will be on plastic or any other material. So you actually really want to go down and just make it really small and not too intense. So I'll bring this um, bump map and reduce the height weight from 1 to like 0. Let's try 0.1 and see what happens. And if I feel this still is too much, we can still go down. So let me bring this over here. So I feel the 0.1 still is much, so I'll come here 0.02, and let's see what we have. Just imagine this is a glass object. All right, so yeah, we're having that scratches here and there, but it's not too much, because by the time we make it a glass object, you start to see how this will look. So we have this 0.02, and I can see some of the scratches here, and I hope you also can see. I also see here also. So I'm going to duplicate this guy. I might still come and change this up. So I'll bring this RS input into this input and plug this into the bump. So let's see the other one and see what that gives us. So this is the first bump map. So maybe for this first bump map, we can go up 4. Okay, so this actually is too much for 4. I'm seeing some of these pushing up and there. So I think I will leave this as is at 2, but I will work on this later on by the time we're blending them together. So now we have 2 bumps that we want to plug in here. I like the 2 bumps. So how can we merge them together and put them into this into this RS material? So we have another node to use, which is called the bump blender. So if I bring the bump blender up, I'm going to layer them up. So I'll put the first map into the input of the RS bump blender and put it at the base input. Then I'm going to put this guy as the layer 1 bump input. So that's just all we need to do. So if I do that, I'll bring this up a little bit and drag this blender into the bump input. And what we're going to see is nothing will change. It's actually going to be showing the first one, which is the base, and we're not seeing the smaller one. And the reason is because for the bump blender, there is this blend width that controls how this is mapped. So at 0, what this means is that it's going to give the base precedence over the white. So it's more of 0 means 100% of the base, meaning 100% of the top bump. And if I make it 1, it's going to be 0% of this and 100% of the down part. You can see what is happening here. So if I come to this bump and really emphasize on just make this 0.1, you're going to see more of it, and you're going to see that it's giving us 100% of this and 0% of that. So what we want to do is to blend them together. So let me take this to, instead of 0.02, I'll try 0.04. So we will see more of this here. So for the bump blender, I said I want to mix them, but I want to go more towards this base. So what I'll do is I'll bring this below 50%, 0.5. If I say 0.5, that means mix them 50%, but I want to get close to this, so I'll just come to this place. Let's try 0.4. So that means we're getting closer to the top part than this, and you see what is happening. Now we are losing the scratch from this base, which is where we can go back to this bump and bring this even up so that it shows more of that. So that's how you can blend between them. You can see we are beginning to get that scratch overlaid on top of this base, and this is how you can layer up different scratch maps. And so if you have one scratch map, like 5 different scratch maps, you can actually layer them up so people can't tell which one is which you are using. So it's just a way to control this. So we are pretty much done with this. That's everything there is to how to scratch this. So what we need to do now is to now turn this refraction up. So we'll make this 1% and bring this color to 0. So we are only left with this object. So if I bring this dispersion to 0 from 95, let's just see what it gives us without the dispersion. And let's just chill for a moment and see what this gives us. So I think I will just pause this and render out so that we can see what it gives us, and we'll now add the dispersion and do that so we can compare both. All right, so just hold on for me. I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm back. I've done the 2 renders and I'm going to show you what we have. So you see this is the first render without the dispersion, and you see the second one with the dispersion. So you can, there's just a little change in it, and if I zoom into this place, that's when you're going to see this place. If I scroll, you can start to see the color dispersion there. So that's what that does. So another thing I did here that I'm going to share with you guys is that I went ahead to change some things. So this was what I was getting. It was so overexposed, and I later figured out that it was because of the light. So your light will also play a major role in your glass object, creating your glass object. So I had to turn off the light and reduce this. So I just reduced the light depending on the scene, and then I introduced a dome light. That's why you're having all these blue hues around, all this sky blue. So that's why you're having that. So that also will play a major role in making your glass object look realistic. So this is what I wanted to share with you, how to create a glass object using RS material. And if you zoom in, you can notice you have some of the scratches and all that. So don't mind, this is a very low resolution, so that's why I'm going to do a high resolution render that I'm going to post on my social media handle, so you could just go over there and check. The link will be in the description. So I hope this was helpful, and if it was, please do give me a like and a thumbs up, because it helps me in YouTube algorithm. And also, if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe to this channel, because I do tutorials like this every week. And also, like I said, I'm sorry I was off for a moment, but I'm back now. I'll be rolling off tutorials every week. So do have a wonderful day, and God bless you. Bye.